All right, here we go. SportsBit 2.0. We're live. Betting Insight today. SBRpicks.com. Pauly and Teddy. It's Wednesday, May 2nd. Big Ten win totals came out from one shop. We'll go over that. Turn on the shot clock as well. Play of the day will come from the Big Ten win totals in a second. Just one game in the NBA playoffs. Rockets and the Jazz. Rockets try to make it 6-0 against the Jazz this season. They're laying a big number. And we'll also get to the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. The red-hot Diamondbacks, number one in ROI in all of baseball, and trying to win their 10th straight series of the season. Hasn't been done in 111 years. We'll get to all that coming up. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Bad beats, a lot of them. Let's start in the NBA. Cavs, Raptors under 218 down to 214, 105, end of regulation. Needed overtime. You got to – unbelievable with the Raptors. Now 2-13 in opening series all time. LeBron doesn't score in the overtime. They blow a 13-point lead. They go 5 of 24 in the fourth quarter. The bench struggled. Van Vliet's taking all the shots at crunch time. Lowry only takes 12 shots in the entire game in 40 minutes. They blow game one.
Okay, so from the bad beat element of it, certainly the total. And again, that under got steamed down. 218 in the open, as low as 214 at the close. And there they are at the end of regulation with 210. If the Raptors hit any, they have about 8 looks, point-blank looks at the basket on that final possession. Make any of them, the under cashes and bettors cash in. Instead, they missed the ball. The game goes to OT, and the over cashes. Books clean up, and bettors take a bath on the total. When you talk about Toronto for the side in that contest, I mean, all the edges we think the Raptors are supposed to have, they didn't show. Toronto's bench outplayed by Cleveland's bench last night, even though the Cavs bench played fewer minutes. Toronto at home with the crowd during crunch time. They scored 3 points the last 4:19 of that ballgame. All 3 of them were on a dicey foul call when Ibaka hit those 3 free throws when he landed on James' foot, attempting a 3 with the shot clock winding down.
But then he brings Van Vliet gets hurt, falls on the shoulder.
Cut, guys. We're not streaming. The stream stopped all of a sudden. So stand by. We're back up.
All right. As I was saying, so all the missed opportunities there at the end and the final 25 seconds with all the playing patty cake with it and all the missed bunnies. Pearl missed a ton of layups. And then he brings Van Vliet back in after he fell on his shoulder and had the ice pack on. And he's taken the 2 big shots down the stretch. Incredible. Adjusted series price. Cavs are now $135, $1.40 in some shops. My God. Now the bullpen shenanigans. Here we go. It continues. Red Sox, who were bet up from 280 to 320 and the under 7.5. Kimbrel blows it in the ninth, 3-2. And then the Royals win it in 13 innings, 7-6. Same story with the Twins, $1.30 and under 9.5, 4-3 in the ninth. Reed blows it, and the Blue Jays win 7-4 in 10 innings.
So we were talking yesterday on the show about the Brewers and how successful they've been this season, in part ROI, because of the dominance of the closer position, where they're not blowing saves. What we have last night, 3 bad beats in MLB, and they were all the exact same thing. Closer can't get it done. Closer can't get it done. Closer can't get it done. In addition, with the Red Sox at minus 320, you lost the under in that game and the under in the Twins game as well, with the Jays getting 3 in the 10th. So your sides, your totals, all relating to the closers. When the closers don't get it done, you take bad beats with MLB sides, and boy, you take some brutal beats with the unders. Of course, Kimbrel, you can't blame. I don't know if you can blame him for last night, but Kimbrel's going to be there for Boston. He's a closer you want your money on. Those games are going to happen. As for Minnesota and Chicago, well, those are 2 teams with some dicey bullpens. Those won't be the last bad beats Twins and White Sox backers suffer here in 2018.
Yep. It was a juicy return on the White Sox, too, and they blew it. They blew it in the ninth as well. Bad for the books. Pittsburgh, Washington over 5.5 to 6. Capitals are 6-1 since they put Holtby in goal. Penguins also took money. More on that coming up. 4-3 Capitals. Ovechkin scores with a minute left. Nashville and Winnipeg over 5.5 to 6. 7-4 final. Winnipeg. That game went over early in the second period. How about that? Again, here's the scores this year when Nashville plays Winnipeg. 4-1, 4-1 in game one, and Nashville had 48 shots on goal and only managed one goal. 4-1, 5-4, 7-4, 5-3, 6-4, 6-5, 3-1, and 5-4. Amazing. And in play, Nashville was minus $9 when they led 3-0, and Nashville took the lead in the second period. Or it was early third period, but tied it up early in the second period, and they win 7-4 with 2 empty net goals. Jets $1.20 up to 150, and the Warriors. We talked about this, how the pace was so crazy in Game 1. Game 2, Warriors-Pelicans 227 up to 229, and that goes over.
Yeah, that's certainly not a good result for the books. Books getting pounded on all 3 overs. You know, Pittsburgh-Washington over, Nashville-Winnipeg over, and of course a Golden State-New Orleans over. But you talked about how fast the pace was for Game 1. It was even faster for Game 2. It was insane last night. Both teams, New Orleans and Golden State, hitting better than 50% from 2-point range. And remember, neither squad shot well from 3-point range last night. New Orleans 13 of 37, Golden State 13 of 40. They took a ton of threes. They didn't make them at a high percentage. And neither team, I mean, the Warriors got to the free throw line a little bit, but between them, we're talking about only 36 combined free throw attempts. That was all pace. And you're going to see significant adjustment. I mean, you can't go too high when the total starts at 229, but the market's clearly adjusting to the pace in this series when you look at that Game 3 total.
Yeah. 27-9 free throw disparity in that Warriors game. Jesus. They're 3.5-point favorites on the road, Game 3. Remember that stat. You don't use Golden State. You take out Golden State teams, so it doesn't come into play Friday because it involves the Warriors, obviously. Teams 31-1 ATS first half, down 0-2 at home in Game 3 the last 3 years in the NBA playoffs. Angels $1.70 up to 190. They won 3-2. A's Mariners total 8-bet up to 9, 6-3 final. Bad bet. Penguins $1.30 up to 170. Serious steam there. They lose. Matt Murray was 10-1 career off a loss in the playoffs. That went down in flames. And look at this. The Dodgers were $2. They lost again to the Diamondbacks, who are plus 15 units, crushing at ROI. Kershaw, when he starts, remember that great run he had the last couple of years, 52-10, whatever it was? Even if you were laying $4 in every game, you were up money. They're 2-5 when he starts. He's down almost 10 units in a month into the season.
Sure, and we're talking about now a series in which Arizona is the #1 ROI team in all of baseball, and the LA Dodgers are dead last ROI in all of baseball. It's not just when Kershaw starts, but obviously last night, a bad bet on LA. Dodgers not meriting that $2 price tag, even with their ace on the hill. Bettors took a bath on that one. Of course, you talked about all the Penguins money. How about the Caps showing signs of life? This has been a playoff nightmare team for what, decades, Pauly? This year, Washington showing me a little bit something. They haven't laid down to anybody.
1998, last time they got to the second round, and hard to beat the Penguins. So we'll see if they can finish the series. Great second round action in the NHL playoffs continues tonight. See if the Knights can go up 3-1 and the Bruins and Lightning tied at 1 as well. It's hard to imagine Kershaw's almost down 10 units this early in the season. But you know, he lost as a 420 favorite in one of the games. Here we go. Rockets and Jazz, the only game in the association. Rockets are 11, 206 the total, thanks to BetOnline and Intertop Sportsbooks. 22 years online, sign up, deposit, win. This was one of the worst spots you're ever going to see for a playoff game. Jazz played the Thunder, 8:45 local tip Friday night. They win. They close out the series. Then they had to come right back and play a Sunday afternoon game. It showed. They were, no Rubio too, but they were down 27 in the second quarter. Bombs away for the Rockets. Harden had a terrific game. Capella was a beast down low. Capella wasn't Gobert was not a factor. Rockets were 8 of 9 on shots with inside 3 feet of the rim. He didn't do much on defense or offense. Harden is averaging 34 points per game this year against the Jazz.
Yeah, and when you look at the series history this season, these teams have now played 5 times. The Rockets 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread, and all 5 of their wins have come by 11 points or more, double-digit margins in every one of those contests. Now, we've seen a couple of games where Utah's defense was able to give Houston some problems. Certainly, in Game 1, it wasn't like the Rockets were able to go nuts offensively, even with the fact that Gobert didn't block a shot for the first time in the postseason. In fact, only the 8th time all year he didn't block a shot. But even with all of that, we've seen this Jazz defense have a chance against Houston, a chance like many teams probably don't have against the Rockets. But the big issue right now with Utah is trying to live without Ricky Rubio at the point. Talking about losing your starting point guard in the postseason, Quinn Snyder, quote, "It's not like you plug someone in there. Everybody's different. We miss him. That's part of the season. We've had him out before, and we had other guys out. He could miss the whole series." But, Jay Crowder's quote, "All guys have to step up. But at the same time, we have a similar offense. We just have to be more in tune with getting the ball in the paint. Ricky's out. That's a lot of our offense. So I'm just trying to be aggressive to give our offense something." What happened? We saw Donovan Mitchell have 5 assists. Joe Ingles had 5 assists. Dante Exum, Alec Burke played okay off the bench, but it didn't feel like the same flow for that Utah offense without Rubio. And you see the quote from Trevor Ariza, quote, "I think it makes Donovan handle the ball more than they would like." He's their dominant scorer at this point. So when he has to handle the ball and get everybody involved in the game, kind of takes away from him scoring the ball all the time or being aggressive all the time. So Utah issues on both sides of the ball as they go into game 2 against Houston tonight. No question, Pauly. They're going to have to play much better than they did in game 1 if they're going to be competitive in this game, let alone have a chance for the upset.
Those numbers you gave out there are staggering with the head-to-head so far, 5-0 and 5 blowout wins. Also in that game that was played late February, that was that game at Utah where D'Antoni said they played the worst half of the season, and they were down big and still won the game by 11 points on the road at Utah and held them to 85 points. So it was bombs away in game 1. They were 17 of 32 from 3. And what happens when these guys get on the same page? Because Tucker was terrific from 3. He had 15 points. Capella, well, he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Remember, they got that record. They were 38-2 at one point when this team would have won 70 games if they didn't have injuries. All these guys missed time. Paul missed a lot of time. Harden missed games. Capella missed time. But I love the balance. Harden played well. Capella, Paul, Tucker, and Mbah Moute came back as well. Now, the Jazz are saying the right things, at least on defense. Crowder said, quote, "They made a lot of tough contested shots. I give Harden credit. He made a lot of shots with a hand in his face. You can't get too frustrated with the process. You don't win the game in the first quarter. You don't win in the first half. So you have to stay the course," end quote. You can lose it, though, when you're down 27. He didn't say what they would do differently for game 2, but he said, I definitely agree with this. We'll be fresher and more energized with what we have to do to take away both ends of the court and what they do. He's right about that. I mean, again, I can't say this enough. That spot was horrific, what happened in game 1. So now time off, a couple of days off Wednesday, and we'll see. I mean, they lose this one. This will let you know how this, not that they can win this series with Rubio out, who could miss the whole series. He's out 10 days at least. But if they can't compete tonight and put up a fight after what happened in game 1, it's a gentleman's sweep probably.
I would think so. But that being said, let's not put the cart before the horse. One game at a time here. And Crowder's quote means a lot to me. They made a lot of tough contested shots. I give Harden credit. He made a lot of shots with a hand in his face. It wasn't like the Jazz haven't figured out a way to kind of, I'm not going to say contain Houston, but to defend Houston. Utah's going to be better at defending Houston than most teams in the NBA. I like Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder's a coach who has shown me enough in his tenure with the Jazz that I trust him to make adjustments. So you ask me, which way do you lean for game number 2? I ain't laying with Houston, and I'm not betting this game over the total. It'd be Jazz or under for this better if I get involved tonight.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And I would be inclined to take the Jazz plus the points after the horror show in game 1, although the Rockets got whatever they wanted offensively. Game number 2, Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks $1.05, 7.5 the total. Ryu against Godley. The Diamondbacks have beat the Dodgers 14 of the last 15 matchups in the regular season. They already have a 9-game lead over the Dodgers. It's May 2nd, for Christ's sake. And again, they can make it 10 in a row series wins. This is a 4-game series. This is game 3 coming up, and they just beat Kershaw. 1907. The Cubs, the last team to do that with all those series wins to start the season. We've told you about Godley here for the last couple of years on SportsBit. We love this guy. 4-1, picked up the win over the Nats on Friday, although he gave up 4 runs. But he has good stuff. Butcher, the pitching coach, has done a great job with this rotation. This team's the real deal and crushing at ROI.
Sure. But there are certainly, from a starting pitching standpoint, we've already seen a little bit of money on LA, and the markets are viewing Godley as a question mark here. And again, he is 4-1. He's a guy who we have liked. He had 15 swinging strikes last time out against the Nats, but we've seen teams in recent starts hit Godley hard when they do make contact. His last few starts, 6.91 ERA and a whip over 2. And the strikeout to walk ratio has been a problem, 10 walks over that 3-start span. And you compare that with going on in LA with Ryu, and it's a completely different story. He got lit up in his first start of the season. Since then, he's been freaking dominant. I mean, for the year now, a 2.22 ERA and an 0.85 whip through 28 innings, even after getting lit up early. And of course, coming off a pretty strong performance against the Giants last Friday, struck out 7 without walking a batter. So from a starting pitching standpoint, we do love Godley. I'm a little bit concerned about him here, and I can understand, again, in a starting pitching matchup, why the Dodgers have taken at least some early betting or early action in betting on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, with the Dodgers, it's been all the injuries. 12 and 17, lost 4 in a row, lost 7 of 8. The road trip's been a disaster. Turner doesn't start his rehab till next week. Seager's out for the year. Puig's hurt. Rich Hill's hurt. The bullpen stinks. Look at all these problems, right? I mean, it's hard. And then their ace goes and he gets beat again.
Sure, but it's not like Arizona doesn't have guys hurt. They're supposed to have Jake Lamb in the middle of the order. They're supposed to have Steven Souza in the middle of the batting order. Nope, but what's happened is they're contributing the role player. Daniel Descalzo last night made all the difference, filling in for the injured starters. Quote, when somebody gets hurt, no one's going to feel sorry for us. It's next man up. You accept that challenge and take it in stride. We're just trying to go out there and compete and give ourselves a chance to win games, and sure, the Dodgers have injury issues. The Dodgers have, in theory, I mean, I don't know what Dave Roberts is doing right now, to be honest. Dave Roberts is a guy who we loved last year, absolutely loved him. But, benching a guy for not going for a triple down 6 runs, it seems like Roberts is pressing. The Dodgers are pressing. This is not a team I want any part of right now until they show me that they've turned it around from this awful April and now into May.
I see both sides of that. He should have been standing on third base, but he also was talked to him about that numerous times with the hustling. But that was wild that he sat him down and benched Bellinger. All right, SportsBit 2.0. I'm at Real SportsBit on Twitter. He's at Teddy_Covers. We're live here again. The way it's going to be for a little bit. SBRpicks.com. Turn on the shot clock in a second. Time for the deep dive. Look at this. We'll do NFL win totals more coming up later in the week. Big Ten win totals from BetDSI. Ohio State leading the way at 10.5. The Badgers are 10. Penn State 9.5. Sparty 8.5. I'll run through a couple of these here. The Buckeyes schedule at TCU. What a great non-conference game. At Penn State, at Michigan State, Michigan and Nebraska at home. Michigan plays Notre Dame on the road to start. Nebraska, Wisconsin, Penn State at home. They're at Sparty and they're at Ohio State. Wisconsin plays BYU and Nebraska at home. They are at Michigan, at Penn State, and at Iowa. A couple of your big boys in the Big Ten.
Sure. And we like to talk win totals right when they come out or soon after they come out because they're virgin numbers, and it's not like these are the only numbers you're going to see on these teams. But when you see virgin numbers, the market's likely to bounce around a little bit more than they will once the marketplace is a little bit mature. So, Big Ten, a major conference. It's not like we've done a ton of work on the Big Ten here for May 2nd. But when you talk about win totals that stand out, certainly Nebraska is one of those. So the Huskers, 5.5. Scott Frost, a guy who certainly has a history of immediate turnarounds, a guy who has absolutely re-energized the program. And it's not a situation where Nebraska is walking in to the Big Ten West with a significant talent differential, even against some teams that are expected to be a little bit higher than they are. Though Purdue at 5 is an interesting one as well. The Boilermakers last year got a lot of buzz in Jeff Brom's first season as a head coach. And of course, Brom's record as a head coach, pretty impressive when you look at it. 37-16, dating back to his tenure at Western Kentucky. So those are two second-tier teams that may be a little bit better than the markets are giving them credit for. Of course, Illinois at the bottom, no, they're not giving any credit to Lovie Smith, Pauly, not even a little bit.
Yeah, they're a horse show. I'm with you on that one. Play of the day coming from this in a second. Teddy touched on one of the teams and a new coach that they have. Time to turn on the shot clock. We did the best yesterday. I went with the Broncos. Who had the worst draft? I'm going to start. Come on, with every year Belichick. Come on. You're not going to coach till you're 80. Brady only has a couple years left. I know the report came out that that if Cleveland didn't take Mayfield, that the Patriots were going to try to trade with the Giants and get Mayfield and trade up and get the number 2 pick, although they would have to give up a ton of picks to do that. That would have been interesting to see how it would have worked out. But they didn't take a quarterback till Etling in, the 7th round, who stunk at LSU. They keep trading down and trading down and trading down. Brady keeps losing weapons. Come on, he's got a couple years left. Win now. I didn't like what they did in the draft.
I'm not going to argue there. And again, what we talked about yesterday on the show, where all the pundits are always wrong. Always. So I'm expecting to be wrong. That being said, I can't justify what Arizona did in the draft. Josh Rosen might save them in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. He might not. I don't know. Christian Kirk is going to replace Larry Fitzgerald. And basically, a team that needed impact players didn't really get the type of impact players I thought they might. Not impressed with Arizona's brain trust in this draft. I think Arizona stood out to me as having a draft without a single sure thing. That's a concern for a squad that is bereft of talent in a number of key areas. Did not like what the Arizona Cardinals have done this offseason. Not one iota. Neither do the markets, Pauly. Arizona's win total tumbling. We'll talk about that more on tomorrow's show.
Yep. 5.5 at the Westgate here in Vegas. The lowest right there with the Browns. The South Point opened them 6.5 yesterday, and they immediately took a $10,000 bet on the under. They have the highest odds at the Westgate to make the playoffs next year. 8-1. Not the Browns. Arizona. How about that? Money time. Play of the day. Back to the Big Ten win totals. Nebraska. Where'd I put it? Nebraska over 5.5. Come on now. Frost over Riley. You want to talk about an upgrade? How good is Frost? He takes over at Central Florida. They didn't win a game before he got there. They went 0-12. He immediately takes them to a bowl game, and then they go 13-0 last year and beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl and dominated up front. And Griffin was terrific. And Milton, their quarterback, played one of his worst games of the year, and they still had a 2-score lead late in the game. He'll turn it around in Nebraska. In college football and college basketball, you can turn it around immediately with the right coach. And Nebraska hit a home run with Frost. Now, I know the schedule's tough. I mean, it's a bear. At Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Northwestern, at Ohio State, at Iowa, Colorado at home, non-conference, Michigan State at home. He'll find a way to get to 6-6 and go over the win total. He's that good. That's the play of the day. All right, back there's careful now tomorrow. You got a 3:00 Pacific tip time because the only games in the NBA are the Eastern Conference games. You got Game 2 with Philly and Boston and Game 2, Toronto and Cleveland. So you got a 3:00 tip time. Be careful there. We'll go through that as well. And maybe the Golden Knights take a 3-1 series lead in the NHL. We'll recap the NHL playoffs as well, and a big betting card in Major League Baseball. Win totals as well. First look, deep dive, NFL win totals. CG Technology, Westgate, and the South Point all came up with win totals in the last week and a half here in Las Vegas. We'll run through all that tomorrow on SportsBet 2.0. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.